Hey, Sean, welcome. Thanks for hanging out. I don't know who's here. I don't know how long anyone's staying, but this video is a video I'm going to make two times. The first time is now, and I sort of want to just put this out there because I'm trying to figure this out. I came across this idea that I think can be a cool video and can be thoughtful and impactful, but it's not ready yet. And it's bigger than I'm currently able to figure out on my own. And so I'm trying to spitball this with a couple of people, brainstorm a little bit, and I wanted to put it out here to the people who watch my stuff and who are into or out of the things I talk about and might have thoughts. So if you have any thoughts on this, please throw them in the comments either now live or later in the comments, and we'll have the conversation. But I was watching a video that my friend Nikki sent to me, and I wish I could remember what it was. Maybe I can find it over here in the meantime. But it was a video about, it was somebody giving this talk about how to make viral content and trying to create things. It was this guy who's made different viral content. He's worked for different marketing companies, and he's done stuff that you've probably seen. And he was talking about the formula he uses to come up with stuff. And at the end of it, it was this like throwaway moment, but he put this slide up on the screen, and I wish I had a screenshot of it, but I don't, where it was showing, he was talking about how the things that he made, even the ones that like didn't do well or didn't go viral, because of the skill he learned from doing that, like he put this sort of web out, this map, this timeline that showed, I did this project, and because of that, I did this next one. And because of that, and because of this one, then I was able to make this. And because of that, I made these two. And it like spread out in this cool web. And it was showing sort of how the things that you do can lead to other things. And it's really hard to jump right to the end. And you don't know where that end is. And you sort of build there and you find this way. Sort of Steve Jobs had a commencement speech, which he said, it's really easy to connect the dots going backwards, but not forwards. And I was struck by that. And then I was taking that, and there's a Tim Urban who writes waitbutwhy.com, an amazing website, amazing blog if you haven't read it before. And he has a thing called 100 blocks a day, where like each block is 10 minutes, and that's basically your entire day. You spend some of the blocks sleeping, you spend some of the blocks eating, and it's up to you to decide how many 10-minute blocks do I want to spend on this or that. And it's compelling, but then he made this follow-up about your life in weeks. And he just has this grid that's 52 weeks wide and however, like 90 columns tall. And you can just see your entire life, every week of every year of your life. And you can put things on there like, here's when I met my partner. Here's when I got married. Here's when I graduated high school. Here's when I started this. Here's when I started playing this. Here's if I started a company, I did it here. And it's really easy to like lay all this stuff out and see your life in this way. And then for context, he gives a few examples of people who, like Steve Jobs, and when he started Apple, when he went back to Apple. And you can see, regardless of the year, you can see like what week in their life they did something. And there's amazing musicians. It's like, they first started playing an instrument when they were 30. And it puts things in perspective to say you don't always have to have been doing something your entire life to be, an expert in it or to make something exciting out of it. And same with, there's people who, like actors, who never acted until they were in their 50s. And you see this on different people's sort of charts. And it was these two things combined that made me want to lay out all of the stuff I had created, all my video projects. And so I'm going to share this on my screen here. Let's see if this works. The scale is a little rough because it's a tiny spreadsheet. But so I made this spreadsheet that has my video projects, and ignore the music thing next to that. But I was just trying to lay out, like, I made videos when I was in high school, and then I made some videos when I was in college, just like, this is what I do for fun. And I wanted to sort of see my timeline and step back and say, okay, when did I do the Marshmallow Lesson? What I would say is like my big short film. And that was in 2019. And before that, I had gone to Florida, and then I edited this Build a Door sort of short film out of that footage. Before that, I had made Jesse and I had gone to Denver, and I made this video of our trip, which I really liked, and I made my Jimmy John's anxieties. There's a whole bunch of other videos that I've made for YouTube, but I don't consider them all like big videos. But bigger projects like the Parched Awards, and I don't even think I put the bathtub tuna videos on here. And then I started to think, well, I haven't just done videos. I've also made a lot of music. And so I put this together and said, okay, well, in 1998 in grade school, we had our band GOAT, Corey, Adam Smith, and I, Corey Wilbert, Adam Smith, and myself. Then in high school, we had One Night Stand, followed by House on Fire in my senior year. Not a ton. I guess I could add in 2006 was when we had the Soapy Distraction jazz combo one year. And then not a lot. And then I did a little bit, starting in 2012. This is when I started playing out, going to open mics. I started having weekly shows at a local bar, and then I recorded an album with the help of my buddy Laren, and then collaborated with Kristen, and then recorded an album that November, went into a recording studio, had a live show at a bar with a small band, recorded another song called Illumination in a studio. And then I started saying, well, also I've made like physical things. It hasn't just been videos and music. And like I built a desk, I built a table, and right now I've built a couple things for Luca. I refinished our front door. None of these things are good things in the physical, like things I've built out of wood. Carpentry, I guess you could call this section. Except I also made a shirt in the beginning of the pandemic, which I would never, ever wear under any circumstance. But looking at all this stuff, I thought it'd be cool to zoom out. And so I'm going to show you this, and you won't be able to read any of it, but the different columns here, just for reference, the B column here, this pink one, is what school I was going to. So you can see like there's my grade schools, my high school, college, and then where I was working. So my 2 years of promotion, and then I started Boom in December 16th of 2008, two days from now. And then from like, that's been my employment to now. I put it all the way to 2023. I'm being bold. And then I have this big stuff category. And this is like things like the pilot for a TV show that Josh and I made. This is the bathtub tuna stuff, the Parched, the Frisbee team, Plays Not Points, the Hardy and Sons podcast, my podcast, doing the Evening Post series last January, and now starting these Tuesday night streams. So these are sort of initiatives I've started, teams I've been a part of, stuff like that. In high school, we organized this big sort of battle of the bands called Chillin' for Charity, and that's like my first thing I produced, where I had to go rent gear and get permission and, hire security. And it was this whole big project that I had never done before, and I just did it with a lot of help from some friends. But then that sort of paved the way for these other things. And as I started to look at this timeline, it was fascinating to me. And so laying these things out with like, okay, here's what I'm making, big stuff. Here's the video projects. Here's the music I'm working on at the time. Here's if I'm building anything physically. And then today it dawned on me that I should really put in some travel. And so I added this whole section, and I need to clean this up and find some way to present this better. But this travel section is all of the trips I've taken. And I was working backwards using my photos to figure out what I was, where I was. Like I don't have a list of all my trips anywhere. So I was just scrolling backwards through my entire photo library saying like, oh, here's some pictures in Denver. Here's some pictures from a float trip, and putting these things retroactively in the calendar. So that's why it seems to start in 2012 when really that was just as far as I made it back before Luca woke up from his nap. But so looking at all this, I think there's also another category I could add here, and that's what I would call like flagship Boom projects, like client work that I've done. That's not like a fun video thing that I do for myself or that I've written, and it's not a passion project. But there's been some bigger work things that I've done, which I've been proud of. And it's neat for me to look at all this stuff, because not only do you see the sheer volume first of stuff that I've created, and I hope you do this for yourself. And what I want to do with like the final video, if this is the rough draft, the final video here is sort of how to make one of these for yourself and what you can learn from it and what lessons are in there. And looking at mine, again, sort of the sheer volume of stuff at the beginning is inspiring to me to look at this and say, wow, I've put a lot of things into the world that weren't there before. And regardless of whether or not that's impactful to you, I think it has a positive impact. And I was watching a live stream. I talked about this recently on something. So forgive me if you've heard me say this before, but like a few days ago, I was listening to or watching Adam Savage from formerly the Mythbusters. He was talking about The Matrix, and he's really excited about the upcoming Matrix movie. And he was talking about how the original Matrix is one of the best movies ever made, and because it exists, the world is a better place, regardless of whether or not you liked it, what it inspired, what it created, where it pushed things forward. The people that it touched had very, very positive, like it had a positive impact on the world in spite of not everyone liking it. And I found that to be so inspiring, and to look at the things I've created. Not everything's good. Most of it isn't, in fact. But the fact that I'm making it serves as an inspiration to myself. There were smiles that happened because of it. There were people who laughed or had good, like with the music. And there's stuff that happened here. And because of that stuff, the world is a slightly better place. And that's a really cool thing to remember and keep in mind. And as you create stuff, creating stuff that has a positive message and can have an inspirational effect on somebody is a huge thing that you can do. And it sometimes takes such little work to create something that can have that big of a positive impact. But so seeing this volume of stuff I've created is inspiring to myself. And I know there's other people who've created much more than I have, but also sort of starting to see the connections between these things and how one thing led to another and what was happening simultaneously in my life. And I can look at this and see sort of phases where I wasn't doing anything creative, where I wasn't creating anything meaningful, where there's, nothing really from, other than the Lou and Me show here in 2009, I really didn't do anything big, this whole area here, until 2014. Like I started doing music in 2013, really, late 2012. But there's like this 5-year period where I didn't really do anything creative. And I'm very, I know what was going on in my life at that time, and I know why there wasn't anything creative. So it's interesting to look back on this and sort of see these gaps, see these patterns, see my focus shifted from music here and then into more video projects after that. And to look at all of this from a bird's eye view and pull things from it, I think is powerful. What I'm trying to figure out when I put this all together and try to create the video that I think this deserves to be, it needs to be a little thoughtful, and I want to have some ways that you can look at whatever you've done. First of all, I want to have how you can lay this out better than a spreadsheet. There has to be a better way than this, and I don't think it's creating a spreadsheet that's just more specific than, I don't want to do months and have it just be a really long vertical spreadsheet. I think there's a smarter way to do this. I don't know what that is yet, but after you've done it, how do you look at it and take something away and say, this led to this, which led to that. And I know if I want to get to here, there might be some steps I need to take in between there. And also how my life is affected by some of these periods where I didn't do anything. How did I feel? And looking back now, do I wish I would have done things differently? And so looking into the future, do I want to be constantly sort of finding things? And I think these Tuesday night streams are not a result of this, because I started doing these before I laid this all out and started thinking about this. But this is just something that I'm doing, and I don't know that it's going to be anything impactful or huge. But in 5 years, looking back at this, is this something that I'm going to be happy that I started, proud of having put something out there? Is this something that's going to lead me to something else? Are there skills that I'm learning now that are going to positively impact my future projects and whatever passions I may want to explore? So it's exciting. It's exciting to look at all this. It takes a lot of work to put it together, but I think if you can put it together and you can put it together cleanly, it can be a really neat tool and potentially a very useful tool to appreciating your own creativity, finding inspiration within it, and using it to guide wherever you want to go from there. So that's what I'm thinking about today. And I put this out there again. If there's people watching this that have thoughts or you've done something like this or seen other people do it in cleaner places, please throw stuff in the comments. Let me know, because I think this is a really, really cool thing for anybody who's trying to do anything creative. And I think if we can figure out a way to put this together, it can have a really cool impact on all of us who are trying to create things. And maybe, I mean, mine's video projects and music, and I have this little physical things here of like woodworking stuff I've done, but maybe for you, you've got crafts and you've got a line of stuff that you've been sewing or sculpture and painting, and you can look at all your different projects and these different verticals and how those change from person to person. It's going to be really cool to see everyone's sort of thumbprint, this bird's eye view of the stuff we've created and when and how it's influenced itself. So any thoughts you have, the better that we can make this, I think the cooler it can be and the more people it can touch. So throw this out there, and yeah, if you've got any thoughts, let me know. My dad is here in the comments, and he says, I like that you've gone back and looked at your history. And I was thinking about, my dad has done a lot of woodworking. And there's these little things, like he did these like epoxy flowers, and I wish I had one here, but it looks like a flower, but he just like sort of took a block of epoxy or something and like ground it out and then like got dye in there and it looks like a flower. And he did several of these, and they were around our house as kids. I don't know where they are now, but if you were to take his timeline and zoom out from it to see this sort of epoxy phase, and he's done a lot of leather working, and he's done a lot of carpentry and building sort of useful, robust things. And then now in his retirement, he's starting to build like prettier things and polish them more. And he's made stuff for his nieces and nephews. And it's just nieces and nephews. His grandkids is what I meant to say. My nieces and nephews and my son. But to zoom out and say, okay, well, my dad's vertical would be, you know, what are trips that my dad has been very generous in providing experiences. And I mean, you can see those trips and stuff have affected me, and they're on my timeline here. And so would his be woodworking and stuff? So there's a way to make this universal. And I think if we can figure that out, tying flies as we speak. Yeah. My dad has been into fly fishing lately. So this sort of stuff and following your hobbies and seeing where you've gone might help you figure out where to go. And I think that could be really cool. So if you've got any thoughts on how to put this together or seen other people do this, I'd love for you to throw them in the comments or shoot me an email or something. And yeah, that is that. Thanks for watching. I appreciate your 18 minutes. Have a lovely night. I'll talk to you soon. See you later. Bye.